Life, as we know it, is filled with unpredictability, turmoil, and the constant presence of forces beyond our control. It is easy to be swept away in the whirlwind of events, to feel as if we are at the mercy of the world's chaos. But the Stoic teaches us that chaos, in its many forms, is not something to fear. It is not an enemy, but rather a teacher who challenges us to cultivate the inner strength, wisdom, and resilience necessary to remain steadfast. The true measure of a person's character is not found in the calmest moments of life, but in how they respond when the storm is fiercest. Stoicism offers us a way through the chaos not by denying its existence, but by changing our relationship with it. 1. Understanding chaos in life. Chaos is not an external phenomenon, it is a constant companion to the human condition. Life, in its essence, is a series of unpredictable events, and it is in this unpredictability that chaos resides. We live in a world where external forces constantly test our patience, where the plans we make are often disrupted by forces beyond our control, and where things do not always unfold in the way we expect or desire. The Stoic, however, does not view this chaos as an obstacle or a source of suffering, but rather as an essential part of life, one that we must learn to accept and navigate with wisdom. In the face of chaos, the Stoic sees an opportunity to practice resilience, to refine our character, and to deepen our understanding of ourselves. The chaos around us is not the problem. The problem lies in how we respond to it. When we resist or fight against the natural flow of life, we only increase our suffering. It is in our resistance that chaos becomes destructive. But when we learn to embrace chaos with an open heart and a steady mind, we begin to transform it from something that disrupts our peace into something that helps us grow. There is a great strength in accepting chaos for what it is, a natural and inevitable part of life. Life itself is never linear, never predictable, and never free from difficulty. It is a vast, swirling river, and we are merely passengers subject to its currents. The Stoic does not fight against the current, but learns to swim with it. We are all at the mercy of the world's turmoil, but we are not at the mercy of our own reactions. Our power lies not in controlling the chaos, but in how we engage with it. The first step in understanding chaos is to recognize that it is not something to be feared. It is not an enemy, nor is it an anomaly in the natural order. Chaos is simply the way of things. It is the engine that drives growth, evolution, and change. Without chaos, there would be no challenge, no struggle, and ultimately, no opportunity for greatness. It is through adversity, through the experience of chaos, that we come to understand our true nature. When we accept chaos, we acknowledge that we are not the masters of the universe. We cannot bend the world to our will, nor can we dictate the course of every event in our lives. But we can choose how we respond, and it is in our responses that we define ourselves. The Stoic path is not one of passivity or resignation, but of active engagement with the challenges life presents. We engage with life not by trying to escape the chaos, but by meeting it head-on with clarity, purpose, and wisdom. It is important to understand that chaos is not the absence of order, but rather a different kind of order. Life is not a static series of events, but a dynamic process of growth, change, and adaptation. Chaos is the medium through which this process unfolds. When we accept that life is inherently chaotic, we stop expecting it to be otherwise. We stop setting ourselves up for disappointment and frustration by trying to control that which is uncontrollable. Instead, we focus on what we can control, our own actions, attitudes, and responses. The Stoic does not seek to eliminate chaos from life, but to develop the inner strength and wisdom to navigate it with grace. By understanding that chaos is not an anomaly, but a natural and integral part of the world's design, we free ourselves from the belief that life should be orderly and predictable. And in doing so, we find the peace that comes not from the absence of chaos, but from our ability to face it with equanimity. 2. The nature of external events. External events are the constant forces that shape the world around us. These are the circumstances, the conditions, and the situations that unfold in our lives, often without our input or consent. They are the events that seem to come out of nowhere, unexpected challenges, sudden losses, changes in our environment, and the actions of others that impact us. The Stoic teaches that external events in and of themselves are neither good nor bad, they simply are. They exist in the world as part of the natural order, and our task is not to try to alter or control them, but to respond to them in a way that reflects our inner wisdom. In the Stoic view, there is a crucial distinction between what is within our control and what is not. External events, by their very nature, fall into the category of things we cannot control. We cannot dictate the behavior of others, nor can we command the unfolding of events in our lives. This truth can be uncomfortable, for it challenges our sense of autonomy and control. But it is also liberating, for it teaches us to focus our energy on what truly matters, our own actions, thoughts, and attitudes. The events of life, whether they are small inconveniences or profound crises, are not obstacles to our peace, but tests of our character. It is easy to maintain composure when things go according to plan, but it is in moments of unexpected difficulty that our true strength is revealed. When an external event challenges us, we are called to respond not with frustration, anger, or fear, but with reason, courage, and virtue. This response is the key to navigating the chaos of the external world. The Stoic does not deny the reality of external events, nor does he dismiss their impact on our lives. To do so would be to ignore the natural world and the forces that shape it. Instead, the Stoic accepts the inevitability of external events and chooses to focus on how to respond to them. When a storm hits, we do not have the power to control the wind or the rain, but we do have the power to decide whether to take shelter or face the storm head-on. The key then is not to wish that the storm would go away, but to develop the inner fortitude to stand strong, regardless of what the storm may bring. This acceptance of external events is not the same as passivity. To accept is not to surrender or to submit, but to recognize that the world operates on its own terms. The Stoic path is one of active engagement, of using wisdom and virtue to meet life's challenges, no matter how unexpected or disruptive they may be. It is in this engagement, in this deliberate response, that we find our strength. In a world filled with unpredictable events, the Stoic sees each challenge not as a setback, but as an opportunity for growth. Each external event, whether it brings joy or hardship, is a chance to practice virtue. It is a chance to demonstrate courage in the face of fear, to show wisdom in the midst of confusion, to cultivate patience when things do not go as planned. By focusing on our response to external events, we free ourselves from the tyranny of circumstance. We do not allow the external world to dictate our inner peace. Instead, we choose how we will meet it. External events are not the problem is how we relate to them. When we view external events as things that should be controlled or avoided, we set ourselves up for frustration and suffering. But when we accept that these events are beyond our control, we can shift our focus to the one thing we can control, our response. In doing so, we free ourselves from the chaos of the world, and we find peace in the midst of it. 3. Accepting what we cannot control. The wisdom of the Stoics begins with a simple, yet profound truth. There are things in life we cannot control. The weather, the actions of others, the past, the future, and countless external circumstances are beyond our grasp. The more we try to control the uncontrollable, the more we will find ourselves in turmoil. In accepting what we cannot control, we find a deep and lasting peace. This acceptance is not resignation, but a recognition of the natural order, the understanding that life unfolds as it will, regardless of our desires or efforts. Our peace, therefore, lies not in trying to bend the world to our will, but in accepting the world as it is. The Stoic approach teaches us to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our attitudes. These are the only things truly within our power. The rest, the external world, the opinions of others, the events that happen to us, are things we must learn to accept without resistance. This is not a call to passivity, but a call to wisdom. It is through the acceptance of what we cannot control that we gain the clarity to focus our energy where it truly matters. In life, we often encounter situations that stir up frustration, anger, or fear. We may want to change the behavior of others, influence the outcome of an event, or prevent misfortune from striking. But when we encounter these desires, the Stoic reminds us to ask, is this within my control? If the answer is no, then we must let it go. We must release our attachment to the outcome and focus instead on how we choose to respond. When we try to control the uncontrollable, we set ourselves up for failure. We cannot dictate the behavior of others, nor can we guarantee that our efforts will always succeed. But what we can control is our response to these situations. We can choose to meet every circumstance with wisdom, with patience, and with virtue. This is the essence of Stoicism, not to fight against the world, but to engage with it in a way that reflects our highest ideals. By accepting what we cannot control, we release the burden of unnecessary suffering. We stop wasting our energy on things that will never change, and instead focus on what we can influence. This shift in focus brings clarity and calmness. When we are no longer consumed with trying to change the uncontrollable, we can direct our attention inward, cultivating peace and resilience in the face of whatever life brings. Acceptance does not mean giving up or becoming passive in the face of adversity. It is not a surrender, but a conscious choice to focus on what we can influence. When we accept the things we cannot control, we free ourselves from frustration and stress. We understand that the world will unfold as it will, and that our power lies not in shaping external events, but in shaping ourselves, our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. The Stoic sage does not waste time lamenting the things outside of his control. Instead, he directs his efforts toward cultivating inner strength, developing wisdom, and living virtuously. This is where true freedom lies, in the ability to choose how we respond to the world around us, regardless of what it may bring. The more we embrace this truth, the more we learn to live in harmony with the flow of life, no matter how chaotic or unpredictable it may be. Accepting what we cannot control is a powerful act of liberation. It is an act of self-mastery that frees us from the endless cycle of frustration and disappointment. When we let go of our need to control the uncontrollable, we discover a profound peace that transcends the outer world. In this peace, we find the strength to face life's challenges with resilience and grace. 4. The power of our responses. The external world is a tempest of events, some expected and others unexpected, some within our control and others beyond our reach. Yet, amidst this storm, there lies a singular truth: the one thing we can always control is how we respond. It is not the circumstances that determine our peace, but the way in which we choose to engage with those circumstances. This understanding lies at the heart of Stoicism, that we possess the power to shape our inner world regardless of the chaos that may unfold around us. Life is constantly presenting us with challenges, people who behave in ways that frustrate us, situations that do not unfold as we wish, and moments when everything seems to be going wrong. The Stoic knows that these external events are not the problem, they are simply the raw material through which we build our character. It is in how we choose to respond to them that our true power resides. The Stoic response is always measured, deliberate, and aligned with virtue. It is not impulsive or reactive, but mindful and intentional. When faced with hardship, we can choose to meet it with anger, fear, or frustration, but such responses are not in our best interest. These reactions may feel momentarily satisfying, but they only serve to cloud our judgment and rob us of our peace. On the other hand, we can choose to face hardship with wisdom, patience, and courage. By doing so, we transform the experience from one of suffering to one of growth. It is in the way we meet challenges that we cultivate the virtues of resilience, courage, and fortitude. The Stoic recognizes that while we cannot control the behavior of others, we can control how we react to their behavior. When someone wrongs us, we may feel hurt, but we can choose whether to harbor resentment or to respond with understanding and forgiveness. When circumstances do not go as planned, we can choose whether to despair or to adapt with grace. This power to choose our response is the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. It is what allows us to maintain our inner peace, regardless of the external turmoil. To master our responses, we must first cultivate awareness. We must be present in each moment, able to observe our thoughts and emotions without being carried away by them. In the face of a challenging situation, the Stoic takes a step back, reflecting before reacting. This pause between stimulus and response is where our power lies. In that moment, we have the opportunity to choose. We can choose to react based on our immediate emotions, or we can choose to respond in a way that reflects our highest values and virtues. The more we practice this, the more we develop the ability to remain composed, no matter what happens around us. This power of response extends not only to external events, but also to our inner thoughts. The Stoic understands that our mind is the realm where true freedom resides. No external event can disturb us without our consent. While we cannot always control what happens to us, we can control how we interpret and respond to those events. By training our minds to see challenges as opportunities for growth, by choosing to respond with wisdom, we empower ourselves to remain at peace in the face of any storm. The practice of responding with wisdom begins with an understanding of what is within our control and what is not. The Stoic knows that he cannot control the actions of others or the unfolding of events, but he can control his own thoughts, emotions, and actions. This realization brings with it a deep sense of freedom. We are no longer slaves to our circumstances, but masters of how we engage with them. The world may throw all manner of challenges our way, but it cannot take away our ability to choose how we respond. The more we practice this art of choosing our responses, the more we develop a sense of inner peace that is unshaken by external events. We become like the oak tree that stands firm in the wind, bending but never breaking. Our responses, rooted in wisdom and virtue, create a calm center within us, a place of strength and resilience that cannot be disturbed by the chaos around us. To truly understand the power of our responses is to realize that our inner peace does not depend on external events. It is a peace that comes from within, a peace that we cultivate through deliberate choice and mindful action. In every moment, we have the power to respond with clarity, composure, and virtue. And it is through these responses, moment by moment, that we shape the quality of our lives. The Stoic way is not to wait for life to align with our desires, but to respond with grace, wisdom, and virtue, regardless of what life brings our way. 5. Embracing adversity as a teacher. Adversity is not a force to be feared, but a teacher to be embraced. In the course of our lives, we will all face difficulties, moments when the world seems to conspire against us, when everything we hold dear is tested, and when the storms of life feel impossible to weather. It is in these moments that the Stoic finds his opportunity for growth. For the Stoic does not view adversity as a burden, but as a teacher that imparts lessons of resilience, wisdom, and strength. It is through adversity that we are sculpted, refined, and shaped into our truest form. The first step in embracing adversity is to acknowledge that it is an inevitable part of life. No one is exempt from hardship. The Stoic does not expect to live a life free from suffering. Instead, he prepares himself for it. By understanding that life is filled with challenges, the Stoic learns not to be surprised or dismayed when adversity strikes. Instead of asking, "Why me?" the Stoic asks, "What can I learn from this?" He understands that every hardship is an opportunity to practice virtue. Adversity serves as a mirror, reflecting back to us our weaknesses, our fears, and our true character. In moments of difficulty, we are shown who we truly are, not in the comfortable, easy times, but in the moments when we are pushed beyond our limits. When we are faced with hardship, we are given the chance to test our strength, patience, courage, and wisdom. It is easy to be virtuous when life is smooth, but it is in the face of adversity that our virtue is truly tested. The Stoic does not wish for an easy life, but for a life in which he can develop and cultivate virtue. To be virtuous is not simply to live in accordance with reason when things are going well, but to live according but to reason when things are difficult. It is in the midst of adversity that we must choose to act with wisdom, to respond with patience, and to maintain our composure. The Stoic sees adversity as a chance to practice these virtues and in doing so to grow stronger. When faced with hardship, the Stoic does not ask for relief or escape, but for the strength to endure. He knows that adversity is not something that happens to him, but something that he can use to shape his character. He approaches every challenge with the mindset of a student, eager to learn from the experience. Whether the challenge is a personal loss, a difficult situation at work, or the betrayal of a friend, the Stoic knows that there is always something to learn. The question is not, how can I avoid this, but what can I learn from this moment? One of the greatest benefits of adversity is that it teaches us what truly matters. In times of hardship, the things we once thought important may seem trivial. The Stoic learns to distinguish between what is essential and what is merely superficial. When everything is stripped away, we are left with the fundamentals of life: our character, our relationships, and our ability to find peace in the midst of turmoil. Adversity helps us to focus on what truly counts and to let go of the distractions that once consumed us. Embracing adversity also teaches us the value of resilience. The Stoic knows that setbacks are not permanent, that difficulties are temporary, and that the strength of his character will carry him through. Adversity may knock him down, but it will never break him. Each challenge is an opportunity to practice resilience, to rise again after falling, to move forward even when the way is difficult. The Stoic does not see failure as a permanent state, but as a stepping stone on the path to growth. Adversity also fosters gratitude. When we face hardship, we gain a deeper appreciation for the good things in life, the people we love, the opportunities we have, and the simple joys that we often take for granted. Adversity sharpens our sense of perspective, reminding us that even in our darkest moments there are still blessings to be found. The Stoic learns to be thankful not only in times of ease but also in times of challenge, recognizing that both are part of the greater tapestry of life. To embrace adversity is to accept that life is not meant to be comfortable or easy. It is meant to be a journey of growth, of learning, and of self-discovery. The Stoic does not shy away from difficulty but meets it head-on, knowing that in the end, it is adversity that will help him become the person he is meant to be. It is through adversity that we develop the qualities of strength, resilience, and wisdom that allow us to navigate the chaos of life with grace. In every challenge, the Stoic finds an opportunity to practice virtue, to refine his character, and to become stronger. Adversity, then, is not something to be avoided, but something to be welcomed. It is through the fire of hardship that we are forged into the person we are meant to be. The Stoic embraces this truth, understanding that every difficulty, no matter how painful, is a chance to grow and become better. 6. Living in accordance with nature. The Stoic philosophy is rooted in the understanding that all things in the universe are interconnected and operate according to a natural order. This order, which the Stoics refer to as nature, is a rational and purposeful force that governs all things, from the heavens above to the lives of human beings. To live in accordance with nature, then, is to align oneself with this rational order, to act in harmony with the world around us, and to accept the roles and circumstances that life presents to us. It is to recognize that we are part of a greater whole, and that our true purpose is not to fight against nature, but to live in a way that is consistent with its principles. At the heart of this concept is the understanding that we are not separate from nature, but an integral part of it. Just as the plants and animals are governed by their own natural instincts, so too are human beings part of this grand design. Our nature as rational beings gives us the ability to reason, to make choices, and to align our actions with virtue. The Stoic believes that to live well is to live in accordance with reason, and that our reason is a reflection of the greater rationality that governs the universe. In this way, we are able to understand the nature of the world and our place within it. Living in accordance with nature requires us to accept the reality of our existence with all its limitations and challenges. We cannot change the fact that we are mortal, that we are subject to sickness, and that we will face difficult circumstances. To live in accordance with nature is to accept these truths with grace and humility. The Stoic does not waste time lamenting his fate or wishing for a different life. Instead, he embraces his role in the world as it is, understanding that his purpose is to live virtuously, regardless of the external conditions he faces. One of the key aspects of living in accordance with nature is the practice of virtue. The Stoics believe that virtue is the highest good and that living virtuously is the path to true happiness. Virtue, in the Stoic sense, is not about following a set of external rules or achieving material success, but about cultivating inner qualities such as wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. To live in accordance with nature is to recognize that these virtues are not arbitrary or imposed from the outside, but are part of the natural order. They are inherent to the human experience and are the means by which we fulfill our purpose as rational beings. In living in harmony with nature, we must also cultivate a sense of detachment from external outcomes. The Stoic recognizes that while we may strive for certain goals, whether they be success in our work, good health, or the love of others, these things are not within our full control. What we can control, however, is how we respond to them. By accepting that outcomes are not entirely in our hands, we free ourselves from the burden of attachment to them. We can work diligently toward our goals, but we do so with the understanding that the results may not always match our expectations. Our peace does not come from achieving external success, but from maintaining our integrity and acting according to virtue, regardless of the outcome. Living in accordance with nature also means recognizing the impermanence of all things. The Stoic understands that everything in life is transient, that nothing is permanent, and that change is the only constant. This realization helps the Stoic to cultivate an attitude of acceptance toward both the good and the bad. When life is going well, he enjoys it fully, knowing that it will not last forever. When life is difficult, he endures it with fortitude, knowing that this too shall pass. In this way, the Stoic avoids the traps of excessive attachment or aversion, understanding that both pleasure and pain are fleeting, and that true peace comes from accepting the flow of life as it comes. To live in accordance with nature is also to recognize the importance of social harmony. Human beings are social creatures, and our nature is to live in community with others. The Stoic understands that his actions affect those around him, and that his role in society is to contribute to the common good. This means acting justly, treating others with respect, and seeking to promote the well-being of those around us. By living in accordance with the rational order of nature, we contribute to the harmony of the world, and our own lives become more meaningful and fulfilling. Ultimately, living in accordance with nature is about embracing the natural flow of life, accepting the things we cannot change, and focusing on the things we can control: our own actions, attitudes, and responses. It is about living with wisdom, courage, and compassion, and recognizing that these virtues are the foundation of a good life. By aligning ourselves with the rational order of the universe, we find peace, contentment, and fulfillment. The Stoic teaches us that by living in accordance with nature, we live in harmony with ourselves, with others, and with the world around us. This is the path to true happiness and the fulfillment of our purpose as human beings. 7. The importance of self-reflection. Self-reflection is the cornerstone of personal growth and the key to understanding the true nature of our thoughts, emotions, and actions. In the pursuit of virtue, the Stoic knows that without reflection there can be no progress. It is through the process of examining our lives, our choices, and our responses that we gain the insight necessary to live according to reason and virtue. The Stoic does not merely react to life, he examines his reactions, questions his motivations, and strives to align his actions with his highest ideals. Through this constant process of self-examination, the Stoic becomes the architect of his own character. Self-reflection is not a one-time event or a mere intellectual exercise. It is an ongoing practice that demands honesty, humility, and diligence. To engage in true self-reflection is to be willing to look at oneself without illusion or self-deception. The Stoic understands that it is easy to convince oneself that one is virtuous, but it is through self-reflection that we come to see where we fall short. We are often blinded by our own biases and pride, and it is only through the act of reflection that we begin to uncover the truth about ourselves. The process may be uncomfortable, but it is essential for growth. Without honest reflection, we cannot hope to improve. The Stoic uses self-reflection as a tool for developing self-awareness. We must be mindful of our thoughts and behaviors, constantly observing ourselves to ensure that we are acting in alignment with our values. Are we responding to challenges with patience, or are we reacting impulsively? Are we cultivating wisdom, or are we allowing ignorance to guide us? Are we practicing justice, or are we prioritizing our own desires above the common good? By regularly engaging in self-reflection, we begin to notice patterns in our behavior, and we gain the ability to correct course when necessary. This awareness is the foundation of self-mastery. Through self-reflection, we also gain clarity about our emotions. The Stoic understands that emotions are not inherently bad, but that they can lead us astray if left unchecked. It is natural to feel anger, fear, or sadness, but it is our responsibility to understand these emotions and determine how we will respond to them. Self-reflection allows us to step back from our emotions and examine them rationally. We ask ourselves, why do I feel this way? Is this emotion in line with my values? How can I respond in a way that reflects my highest virtues? In this way, self-reflection helps us to manage our emotions rather than be controlled by them. Moreover, self-reflection reveals to us our true desires and motivations. Often we act out of habit or unconscious impulse, pursuing things that we believe will bring us happiness, but which ultimately leave us unfulfilled. Through reflection, we can uncover these false desires and distinguish between what is fleeting and what is truly valuable. The Stoic asks himself, what do I truly want in life? Is this pursuit aligned with virtue, or is it driven by external rewards and distractions? By confronting these questions, we are able to reel in our desires with our higher purpose and focus on what truly matters. The Stoic also uses self-reflection to assess his progress in the cultivation of virtue. It is easy to become complacent, to believe that we are living virtuously simply because we avoid obvious vices. However, the Stoic knows that virtue is not just the absence of vice, but the active pursuit of excellence. Each day presents an opportunity to practice wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Through self-reflection, the Stoic evaluates whether he has lived up to these ideals. Did he act with wisdom in his decisions? Did he exhibit courage in the face of fear? Was he just in his dealings with others? Did he exercise self-control when faced with temptation? This constant evaluation allows the Stoic to track his progress and make adjustments as necessary. Self-reflection also helps the Stoic to develop humility. It is easy to become arrogant in our own abilities or to believe that we have mastered the art of virtue. However, the Stoic understands that the more he learns, the more he realizes how much he still has to learn. Through reflection, we come to see our own limitations and flaws, and this awareness cultivates a sense of humility. The Stoic does not look down on others, but recognizes that every person is on their own journey and that we are all fallible. This humility allows the Stoic to remain open to growth and to learn from others, even in times of difficulty. In times of hardship, self-reflection serves as a powerful tool for maintaining perspective. When faced with adversity, the Stoic uses reflection to remind himself that this moment too is temporary. By reflecting on the impermanence of life, he gains the strength to endure. He also uses reflection to recall the wisdom he has accumulated from previous challenges. What did I learn the last time I faced hardship? How did I respond then? And how can I respond better now? This reflective process helps the Stoic to navigate the challenges of life with greater wisdom and resilience. Ultimately, self-reflection is about taking responsibility for our own lives. The Stoic understands that he is the author of his own story and that every action, every decision, every response is within his control. By reflecting on our thoughts, emotions, and actions, we take ownership of our character and our path. We recognize that our growth is not dependent on external circumstances, but on our own commitment to living virtuously. The Stoic embraces the process of self-reflection as a way to continually refine his character, to deepen his wisdom, and to live a life that is true to his highest ideals. In the end, self-reflection is not an act of self-criticism, but an act of self-love. By reflecting on our thoughts, actions, and emotions, we gain the insight necessary to grow and to live more in line with our true nature. It is through this constant process of introspection that we become the best version of ourselves, not through external achievement, but through inner transformation. The Stoic understands that self-reflection is a lifelong practice, one that requires patience, humility, and dedication, but it is through this practice that we cultivate the wisdom, strength, and virtue that will carry us through the chaos of life, cultivating in inner peace through detachment. In the world of constant change, where external circumstances are unpredictable and often beyond our control, the pursuit of inner peace becomes not just a noble goal but a vital necessity. The Stoic understands that true peace does not come from controlling the world around us, but from mastering our inner world. To cultivate inner peace, we must learn to detach ourselves from the fleeting, the trivial, and the uncontrollable. Detachment, however, is not about renunciation of the world or resignation to a life of passivity. It is about developing the ability to remain undisturbed by external events and to cultivate a steady, calm mind regardless of what is happening in the world around us. At the heart of Stoic detachment is the understanding that there are things within our control and things beyond our control. The Stoic does not waste his energy or peace of mind trying to control the uncontrollable. The weather, the actions of others, the state of the world, these are not ours to command. What we can control, however, are our thoughts, our reactions, and our responses. Inner peace is cultivated when we accept that we cannot control the chaos of the world, but we can control how we relate to it. Detachment is not about disengagement from life, but about choosing where to focus our attention and energy. Detachment begins with a shift in perspective. The Stoic understands that external events, no matter how challenging or disturbing, cannot disturb his peace unless he allows them to. It is not the event itself that causes turmoil, but his interpretation of it. A loss, an insult, a disappointment, these are all events that occur in the external world. But it is our thoughts about these events that determine whether we experience peace or turmoil. By changing our thoughts and adopting a Stoic mindset, we can remain detached from the impact of these events and maintain our inner calm. One of the greatest obstacles to inner peace is attachment to outcomes, to people, to possessions, and to expectations. When we become attached to something, we give it power over us. We expect that it will bring us happiness, fulfillment, or security. But when it is taken away or does not meet our expectations, we experience grief, frustration, and anxiety. The Stoic recognizes that attachment is the root of suffering. By detaching ourselves from these expectations and desires, we free ourselves from the emotional turmoil that comes with them. This is not to say that we should abandon our goals or relationships, but that we should approach them with an understanding that they are not guaranteed and that our success does not depend on them. The practice of detachment requires us to develop a sense of self-sufficiency. The Stoic understands that true contentment comes from within and is not dependent on external circumstances. We do not need external validation or material possessions to feel whole. Our sense of worth and happiness is rooted in our ability to live according to virtue and to respond to the world with wisdom, courage, and tranquility. By cultivating self-sufficiency, we detach ourselves from the need for approval, praise, or external rewards. We understand that our peace comes from our own choices and actions, not from what others think or what we accumulate. Detachment also involves recognizing the impermanence of all things. Everything in life is temporary: the joy we feel in a moment of success, the sorrow we experience in loss, the pleasure of material wealth, and even the relationships we cherish. The Stoic accepts that everything is transient, and by accepting this, he learns to enjoy life without becoming attached to it. He does not grasp at the fleeting joys of life, nor does he despair at the inevitable losses. Instead, he enjoys the moment fully, knowing that it will pass, and when it is gone, he remains steady and unshaken. The Stoic practices detachment by embracing the transient nature of existence and finding peace in the understanding that nothing lasts forever. The Stoic also practices detachment from the opinions of others. In the world, we are constantly surrounded by judgments, evaluations, and criticisms. The opinions of others can either lift us up or tear us down, depending on how much we invest in them. The Stoic, however, does not seek validation from others, nor does he fear criticism. He understands that the opinions of others are outside of his control, and that his true worth comes from living in accordance with virtue. By detaching from the need for external approval, the Stoic is free to act in alignment with his own principles without being swayed by the judgments of others. Detachment is also a key practice in navigating our desires and impulses. The Stoic recognizes that the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain are natural human instincts, but he also knows that the unchecked pursuit of pleasure leads to indulgence and excess, while the fear of pain leads to avoidance and weakness. Detachment from these impulses allows the Stoic to live in balance, neither driven by the need for constant pleasure nor paralyzed by the fear of discomfort. By mastering his desires and impulses, the Stoic achieves the tranquility that comes from knowing that he is not at the mercy of his urges. His actions are governed by reason, not by the fleeting whims of pleasure or pain. Cultivating inner peace through detachment also requires the Stoic to practice mindfulness. This means being fully present in the moment without clinging to the past or worrying about the future. The Stoic does not dwell on past mistakes or regrets, nor does he obsess over what may or may not happen tomorrow. Instead, he focuses on the present moment, making the most of each opportunity to act virtuously. By being mindful and focused on the present, the Stoic frees himself from the distractions and anxieties that arise from dwelling on what is outside of his control. Detachment does not mean indifference or disengagement from life, rather, it means living with purpose and intentionality. The Stoic remains deeply engaged with the world, but he does so from a place of inner peace and balance. He acts with integrity, kindness, and justice, but he does not become emotionally entangled in the outcomes. He understands that his role is to live virtuously and that the results are beyond his control. This detachment from outcomes allows him to act without fear, to pursue his goals without anxiety, and to maintain his peace regardless of the circumstances.